the role of stress in cardiovascular risk is very, very poorly defined. I think that there are those who would probably take exception with that statement. But I think if you look at all of the studies together, you realize that there are a lot more questions than there are answers. If you look closely at some of the studies in animals exposed to different stressors, you start to see a very, very strong set of data that says that stress plays a role. Figuring that out in people, how to expose people to stress in a controlled way or how to measure stress is so much more difficult that I just think it's going to be hard to show a link between stress in humans and cardiovascular disease. Now, with that touch of cynicism that I'll give you to the way the studies can be done and whether the data is definitive or not, I believe from this circumstantial evidence that dealing with stress is a very important part of things. Certainly, if you look at stress as it relates to a more extreme or more focused or more specific approach, such as people who are very hostile, who are very angry, well, if stress is leading to hostility and anger, I think there's a stronger link between them and health risks in general. So none of these are proven, but I think that if you were to pay attention to the literature as a whole and also look at the experience that many of us have had, stress does seem to play a role. And I think if not on the risk of a cardiovascular event, certainly in terms of people's quality of life. So when I'm interacting with a patient and they want to know, did stress play a role in this? I usually tell them, well, I would guess it did, but nobody could prove that scientifically. On the other hand, if you don't figure out a way to deal with your stress, if I can't give you some insights or you can't figure it out from some other place, then what I know is that your quality of life won't be as good. And even if that's the only way that stress plays a role, I think that it's worth trying to deal with figuring out ways to reduce people's stress.